Welcome everyone, I hope you're having a very wonderful day and welcome to my guide for saltwater crocodiles for Emerald Coast. Before we begin, I want to quickly break down how today's guide is going to work. So our first section will be covering their locations and hotspots, and then our second section will be covering weapon recommendations where I'll recommend 5 of my favorite weapons to hunt these guys with. And then we'll end today's video with the animal profile, which will have a custom map, ammo chart, time zones, and more. Everything you need to make your hunting life 10 times easier. So let's get right into it by quickly going over crocodile locations. So I'm just going to quickly zoom out here and just quickly, briefly go over this. Now, I do want to point out that I hunt these guys between 16 to 20, but that's just my very particular time. You can hunt them pretty much throughout the day as long as they're not at their feeding time. The reason why I hunt them between 16 to 20 is because the Bangtang like to come to the beaches, and I just find them to be useful for extra money. But the other way, let's quickly discuss these locations or go over these locations. This central point right here where I have zoomed in is a saltwater crocodile zone. It is the smallest zone for crocodiles across the entirety of this map, and this is the furthest point inland that you can find these guys. Moving up north, I really don't have to explain it as the hunting pressure itself explains it for you. This entire section of this mangrove area is saltwater territory. Now it does end right here at this bend where I have my need zone. Anything past that is no longer saltwater croc territory. But if we're going to be talking about hotspots, the beach right here is very popular. As you guys can still see, I do have some hunting pressure here because I was brutally massacring so many saltwater crocodiles here. I recommend just popping at this outpost here, cutting across and walking up the beach and just take a trip all the way up north. I do recommend bringing a tent though, because you probably will not make it through the beginning time zone if you're starting from 16 and trying to go to 20. But if you're just walking throughout the day, then it should not be an issue. Another major hotspot is this gigantic mangrove section right here. They span pretty much all the way down to the bottom here, up into the sandbank right here. But that pretty much is all the saltwater croc locations. So I'm going to quickly go into the mangroves here as I'm creeping in. I just want to share with you guys how I hunt them when it comes into dealing with the mangroves. And another thing I do want to point out is that these guys are very fun to hunt, very good for money. But also don't give your hopes up out there because there is a butt ton of trolls. They kind of remind me a little bit like red deer. You're going to see quite a few level 9s and then you're just going to be very disappointed. But that's just been my experience with crocodiles. I have bagged quite a few diamonds while hunting these guys. My greatest one is a albino diamond crocodile, which is no longer with me on this account. All I have left of it is the video on my channel and a picture that I keep saved as it was a beauty. But we're going to go down here into the mangroves and I'm just going to quickly scan around. I pretty much, when hunting through the mangroves, I just walk with my binoculars out and wait until I see spot animal. And then I'm like, oh, there we go, saltwater crocodile. That's what I recommend doing because it is pretty easy to find them because they you can kind of walk up on them. Sometimes they won't alert necessarily, and then you'll just bump into them, and then you got to deal with an angry croc. But we're out here. I'm just showing you guys pretty much how to do it. Also want to be mindful that you do not walk into the deep end of the water here. But that pretty much does it for showcasing the hotspots and locations. Oh, I just died there. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Oh. Alrighty, folks, so here we are back at the outpost after that near-death experience. Before we begin, I want to quickly say 3 things. First things first is, I'm only going to be covering rifles, handguns, and shotguns. I'll not be covering bows because I'm not a bow expert, so I'll leave that to professionals. Secondly, these are just my personal recommendations and favorites. Obviously, we'll go out there and explore and see what suits you and what you enjoy playing with. And then lastly, I'll be mentioning all the DLCs weapons come from in case you want to pick them up for yourself. So let's get right into it with our first rifle today. The 300 mag tactical is a very, very solid choice. It's semi-auto, so you can place down those follow-up shots relatively easily. It doesn't have that bad of recoil, and you have 5 rounds in there. And that pretty much sums that rifle up. It's really good to hunt these guys with, and you can find it in the high caliber weapon pack. Moving on to our second rifle of the day here, we have the LLR 338, if we can find it right here. Now this thing has some sentimental value to me, but I use this thing last out of the 3 rifles we'll be talking today. This thing here took that diamond albino crocodile, and so I do love it because of that, but I pretty much put it at the bottom of the board here when it comes to hunting them, but it does the job very well. That's why I'm recommending it still. It's a very solid rifle, and you can find it in the Hunter Power Pack DLC. Moving on to our final rifle today, which is the newest addition to the weapon packs that have come to Call of the Wild, the 375. Now, this thing is a absolute unit when it comes to dealing with crocodiles. It drops them relatively easily. Don't have to wait for them long when they enter the water. They just plop up after a little bit. And it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to take these guys with this rifle than the 338 or the 300. So I highly recommend picking this bad boy up if you're interested in those quick kills for those crocs and don't feel like chasing after them. And you can find it in the Hunter's Choice Bolt Action Rifle Pack DLC. Moving on to handguns, I'm going to be brutally honest about this, folks. I would not recommend hunting crocodiles with handguns, but if you have to, I recommend the king of all handguns, in my opinion. The 4570 Jernberg Superior is a very beautiful pistol. It's the best in my opinion when it comes to all these pistols. Reason being, even though it's single shot, is you can put a rifle scope on it, and it absolutely has the best zoom in the world. It demolishes a lot of animals. I believe this caliber covers between 4 through 9, which makes it a very useful pistol. So that pretty much sums that bad boy up, and you can find it in the high caliber weapon pack DLC as well. Moving on to our final weapon of the day, it is going to be the Strandberg 10 gauge. The reason why I recommend bringing a shotgun when it comes to hunting crocs is that these guys can be pretty aggressive. So I recommend either bringing this or the 300 mag tactical for dealing with them. Just put some slugs in this thing and go to town. You have 4 rounds in there, semi-auto. It is really solid to use, but I mostly use the rifles nonetheless, or the 300 for those self-defense situations. And you can find this in the high caliber weapon pack DLC as well. So that's pretty much it for the weapon recommendation part. I'm going to see you guys over in the animal profile in just a moment. Alrighty folks, so here we are at the end of today's video. Before I let you guys go, I'm going to do a quick animal profile breakdown. Starting on the left hand side, we have all of our basic saltwater croc information. We have our class, difficulty, silver, gold, diamond threshold. We have our weight from least 2 greatest in kilograms in pounds. We have our fur types covering common and very rare. Moving on to the center match, we pretty much covered all of that stuff earlier in today's video. Moving on to the top right hand corner, we have all of our time zones nice and organized for you. And then below that, we have our ammo chart for those full integrity kills. Pretty much does it for today's video, folks. If you guys enjoyed, please drop a like. It really helps out the channel. With all the way, I hope you guys have a very wonderful day. Happy hunting, good luck, and I will see you guys in the next one.